Is PG&E causing California's housing crisis? We're going to review last week's 10th town forum hosted by the city of East Palo Alto, and then take a deep dive at some legislation that's being introduced that would reform PG&E to become a publicly owned utility company. But more on that later. Plus, San Mateo County Board of Education is suing social media companies because of the harm on youth and mental health. Your favorite social media platforms like YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram might be banned at school. Also, Sequoia Union High School District unanimously votes in a new superintendent amidst the ongoing accusations of being racist and perpetuating white supremacy. All that and more on the Pacifica Voices podcast. Welcome, everyone. I am your host, Toma Victoria, and thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Pacifica Voices podcast. If this is your first time tuning in, make sure you subscribe to the channel as well as to our newsletter on our website, www.anamatangi.org, for all things Anamatangi. I hope everyone is having a great week so far. As we head into the weekend, there's been so much happening in the local news, the county news, all the way up to the state. And we are going to be covering 3 hot topics today. But before we do that, I wanted to introduce the organization itself. As many of you know, Anamatangi has been around, formerly known as Pacific Islander Outreach. But Anamatangi Polynesian Voices is a Silicon Valley-based organization committed to serving systems-impacted communities through heritage preservation and civic engagement. Now, if you're interested in volunteering or donating to our programs and initiatives that you'll be able to learn a little bit about later when we have our senior organizer join us on the show, you can head over to our website for more information on that, and then also to our donation portal. Now, a couple of announcements before we head into today's topics. This Sunday, March 26th, will be the final community-based clinic offered by the San Mateo County for COVID-19 vaccines and flu shots. Again, this is the final free clinic that's being offered to our local communities this Sunday, March 26th, from 9 to 3:30 at St. Francis of Assisi Church. And if you don't know where that is, it's on Bay Road in East Palo Alto. And they will be offering free vaccines to children 3 years old and older, all the way to adults. They have the Pfizer and the Moderna COVID vaccine, both the first and the second shot, as well as our booster shots. And then you can also get your flu shots there too. So make sure if you haven't been vaccinated and you want to get vaccinated, or you have children in your household who want to get vaccinated, make sure you take advantage of this free opportunity. Okay. We have one more announcement to share with you all before we get into our hot topics. And this is, again, a topic that we covered last week around the new development in East Menlo Park of the Menlo Park, what was known and is still known as Onetta Harris Center, the community center that is going up, and the fight to preserve the name Onetta Harris Community Center. So here is a brief infomercial on what is to come. So if you are not aware or if you want to get involved, please reach out to either Poetis Kalamu Shashe. You can also reach out to the late Onetta Harris's son, Kenneth Harris, who are putting together the campaign. That is the hashtag We Are Onetta. They are petitioning the city of Menlo Park to keep the name We Are Onetta and not change it to the name that's being suggested, which is the Menlo Park Community Center. So if this is something that you find important, as I do, please make sure that you do sign that petition, and we'll make sure to have that available for you all. Okay, so going into our org updates, I have the privilege of working with our senior organizer, Miss Helena Grew. She will be joining us today to talk about some of the work that is being done in the local schools. And then we will be talking about some of the data. So if you will, please join me in welcoming Miss Helena Grew.
Hi,
Hello,
everyone.
hello.
Hi, can you hear me? Good.
Hi. Yes, I can. Thank you so much for making time today, Ine. If you could just maybe in 2 sentences share your position and then also what it is that you're working on right now with Anamakangi.
Yeah, my name's Helena Grew. I'm the senior organizer with APV, Anamatangi. And in my position, I do a lot of everything in APV, but I am a part in leading ComScore, which is our communications group. And we came up with the campaign, Youth Elevation Campaign. So we also are in charge of our civic engagement of our organization, and we've seen an upflux of violence in our high schools in East Palo Alto. So us, a group of 17 to 23-year-olds, we came up with the idea if we are going to talk about violence and if we're going to really going to have these dialogue and conversations about what's really going on with youth, wouldn't it be best if it's done by youth. And so we created the campaign called the Youth Elevation Campaign, which is a semester long campaign where we would go every other Friday to a local high school and we would talk to the youth, be an open armed group, and we'll also do activities, team building, implementing culture, and really being there for students. So it so far has been a success. We've had 3 sessions overall in a local high school called East Palo Alto Academy, and the youth are really engaged. We have about every other week it's about 15 to 20 students, and it's a very diverse group. We have a lot of Pacific Islander students, we have a lot of Latino students, and I'm really glad to be working with these students. And so in these sessions so far, the youth have met our founders, Mama D and Papa Senta, our ED, and some of our youth in our group. And even just meeting community elders has been very life-changing for them. And their evaluations, there's leaving that they love learning more about their community. They want to learn about their own culture and also others' culture. And so for me, it was just like an eye opener because I know when I was in high school, if I had this opportunity, like, would I be this smart to really tune in and to know about my own culture? Right now I'm 19 in college, still like trying to learn and find somewhere to learn my culture. So it's really, heartwarming to be working with these youth who want to do the work and they just don't have the outlet to do it. So that's why I'm happy to be working with APV to implement culture and a sense of belonging for these students. So tomorrow, which is our 4th session in East Palo Alto Academy, one of our ComScore team members, Grace Malgo, would be leading a cultural dance session teaching about Tongan and Samoan dance values and core values in our culture to the broader students. And so those are the things we're implementing into our Youth Elevation Campaign.
Incredible. It's fascinating because you are still so young. You are in your teens still, and you are such an incredible person. I mean, incredible person to work alongside, and then also to see you lead this campaign for youth that are maybe 5 years younger than you is incredible. Can you share a little bit about some of the reasons why youth leadership is important specifically within the Pacific Islander community, based on some of the data that we've been sharing within the organization.
Yes, definitely. I can share these facts that we have up here, which is really why I said it's really heartwarming to see how advanced the youth are given the circumstances they're in. And so we have some statistics which are very limited for our population of Pacific Islanders, but we have some statistics from prior to the pandemic, which is 2018 to 2019. And it shows that school districts across the San Mateo County enrolled a cumulative 1,718 Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander students. 5.7% of those students were suspended across San Mateo County high schools, compared to 5.4% Black/African American population and 3.5% Latinx population, respectively. Sequoia Union High School District enrolled 236 NHPI students, which is 14.6% of those students experienced suspension, and compared to 8.8% suspension rates of Latinx students and 12.2% for Black/African American student population. And so seeing the statistics, this is literally the school district we're working in. These are the students that we're working with. And like I said, I was so surprised to see how happy these students were to have an outlet of their own culture, have an outlet of what they see at home, right? And so I think that we're really pushing towards pushing against these statistics in schools with restorative justice practices and being something like a healing circle where students can come. And we made it to where, say, some of our students have detention or things like that, our program is an alternative. They can skip detention and come and talk to us, and we can have that dialogue. Why are you in detention? Why are you doing these things? And I've done it. It's like I'm telling them, like, just a conversation, just like, why did you have detention today? And they feel silly because it's like it was a silly reason. And just imagine if imagine when I was in middle school, high school, and someone really cared why I had detention. Instead of making me sit in a room, I would talk to them, and I would go there, and I would really get to the bottom of the point of why I had detention. And it's really just being that single person to ask a student about their day, about why they're doing this. And we've got a lot of response from students on why they like to come. And like I said, it's the cultural piece, it's the elder piece, it's learning about someone new. Like, even meeting somebody, we talk about East Palo culture all the time. Seeing where you're from the gardens. I know, we live around the corner. Meeting people where you don't see them every day, but now we grew up in the same life, and you're really feeling their life, and you're feeling like them. And these statistics I feel like they're given by people who don't really connect with the youth and don't really understand, navigating the US as a migrant from another country where the culture is very different. How can that student fit in? You know, just seeing things like that, which we have practice in. We're getting trained in mental health and being an ally for students who may not feel welcomed at school.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Ina. Last question. As you are in the field, you're on the ground doing this work. How can people get involved? Is there a website or maybe a link? If volunteers, perhaps even college students who are listening to this, how can they get involved?
Yes, go ahead and visit our website. It's www.anamatangi.com. And you can also follow us on our Instagrams, Anamatangi Polynesian Voices, Comscore, and Tonga Victoria. Work hard to keep that updated, and you can always see what our sessions are, what we're doing in youth leadership, and stay tuned for our summer program this summer.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Ina, for your time. And we look forward to adding you into future podcast episodes. And please look out. We are prepping to extend our podcast episodes to bring in more of a variety of voices and perspectives on the issues that are important to us as an organization. And Ina is one of those people. She's also a trailblazer. She will be a name that you will not forget, and you will see in the coming years, I'm sure. Thank you so much, Ina, and we look forward to seeing you next time.
Thank you. Bye, y'all.
All right, y'all. So you heard from Ina, our senior organizer. If you want to get involved with our youth leadership development programs, which is YEC, and then also we have Take the Mic, that is going to take the stage this summer. Please do not hesitate to get involved and visit us at www.anamatangi.org, where you can find more information on that. And we look forward to all of the youth that'll come through the doors and all the culture that they will be learning about. And that is really the essence of why our founders, Mama D and Papa Sinta, started Anamatangi so many years ago in the early 90s, was to preserve heritage and engage in civic duty and responsibility, not only for the generations here, but also for the generations to come. So we are so excited for that. And like Ina said, please make sure you are subscribed to our channels, as well as our social media platforms, to get and stay up to date on the latest news coming out of our youth programs. All right, now we are moving into our hot topics. Now, topic number one, if you have not known, the San Mateo County Board of Education, along with Sequoia Union High School District, has been going through some difficult or rough transition, especially San Mateo County Board of Education. We are announcing right now here on the platform that the San Mateo County Board of Education has voted in a new member of the San Mateo County Board of Trustees. His name, or their name, is Hugo Torres, and he is the newest board that will be overseeing the areas of East Palo Alto, as well as North Fair Oaks and Redwood City. And so we want to continue doing our research on who is Hugo Torres, where does he or where do they come from, and what are the priorities that they have forth for our area, and what interests do they have. So that is some news to come. We want to keep you all engaged on what is happening on the ground level, especially with the county. But today we really want to talk about San Mateo County Board of Education is suing social media companies. And this is actually a pretty big deal because, as we all know, in the age of digital media and the age of online streaming, where addiction to social media happens at an earlier age than perhaps 10 years ago. This is a phenomenon, an epidemic that not only is the federal level trying to figure out. We saw President Biden put out really a conversation for the public to have around banning TikTok, around banning YouTube, banning Facebook. And now we're seeing it at the county level with the San Mateo County Board of Education taking a federal lawsuit out against social media companies. And KTVU, and as well as ABC 7 News, really captured this topic on why it's important and what is happening. So take a look at this. One second.
Spend a lot of hours every day surfing the web online and on social media. That's certainly how teenagers spend a lot of hours every day. But studies have shown the adverse effects of too much screen time, and that's why the San Mateo County Office of Education has filed a lawsuit to hold social media companies accountable.
Here's ABC 7 News reporter Leah Melendez with the details of that suit.
We must finally hold social media companies accountable.
President Biden taking a swing at social media companies for negatively influencing young people. Republican Senator Josh Hawley followed by introducing a bill to block children under 16 years old from social media. And now the San Mateo County Office of Education filing a lawsuit in federal court because of the impact the school district is seeing on their students.
These social media platforms can be used to harm each other or to create havoc or to cause disruption or to shame students for various identities or the way in which they look or sound.
We're talking about children here, so their brains are developing, and what happens to them while they're children carries through for their whole life.
Anne-Marie Murphy is the attorney representing the school district. According to the lawsuit, the district is spending large sums of money addressing and reversing the harm done by social media platforms like YouTube, Snapchat, and TikTok. They want these companies to help pay for that.
When we work with young people to help educate them about making responsible choices, all of that takes resources. It takes time, it takes money, and it takes time away from learning.
That's not to mention the damage to property created by viral challenges which are executed by students. Social media companies say they have put in place protections for young people and screen time reminders on their devices. The lawsuit says it's not nearly enough. The strategy now is to go after big tech the way big tobacco was targeted. Remember, once upon a time, cigarette ads were associated with good times and good flavor.
All right, so let's talk about this. As they mentioned in the video, suing the social media companies will benefit two things. One is that it will be able to add another layer of security or protection away from cyberbullying, increased absences, more children diagnosed with ADHD. Some of the symptoms that we're seeing increase as according to the data. And the second thing is how can they really monetize some of that to resource the programs that are needed within the school systems. These are mental health programs, perhaps even coaching, mentorship programs that are needed across not just San Mateo County, but also just the state of California and then our country. One particular point that they made was the vandalism in schools. I think it's very interesting when we see these TikTok challenges and these experiments that happen at schools and even in your homes. If you have been a part of that phenomenon, then you know better than I what I'm talking about. I don't have TikTok. I'm not subscribed to that. But there is a kind of an increase in vandalism across schools that for the 30 seconds or to the minute that you're recording this, you think it's fun, it's trendy. You forget that afterwards, you're actually creating damage to physical property. And because TikTok, as well as Instagram, and I'm sure other social media apps that I'm not aware of, they promote that to be creative, to be that ingenue, is to damage and vandalize some of the properties, including the classroom. And so what do we think about that as a community? If San Mateo County Board of Education is successful in this suing of these social media companies, which ironically, many of those companies did start in Silicon Valley, what would that look like on the ground level, especially given the increase in mental health? As we know, the data says that 71% of Native Hawaiian Pacific Islanders are reaching out and receiving treatment for mental health. They're receiving treatment for alcohol abuse, for substance abuse. 71% of NHPIs within the state of California. We know that the state of California has the most NHPI populations within the continental US outside of Hawaii. That's a very, very, not only huge, but alarming statistic, especially when we are up against big tech. So what does our community feel about that? What are perhaps the damages that come with that, the consequences? And then also, what are some of the benefits? I want to invite you into that conversation, both in the comment section. We'll also put that out on our social media channels next week to see what it is that our community feels about this. Because as we know in the video, that there is a federal attention towards TikTok, towards social media at large, given that we are living in an era where it is aspirational to want to become an influencer. It is aspirational to want to leverage the opportunities that YouTube and TikTok and Instagram might provide for someone who doesn't want to go to school. I don't want to go to school. I'd rather put videos on TikTok and make millions of dollars that way. So it's a very interesting topic. We will be covering this and really kind of following this event that's happening and taking place at the county. So yeah, I want to invite you all to hear more about what y'all are thinking around this topic. Moving forward, so another hot topic, which is relevant to San Mateo County Board, but specifically within our own school district, Sequoia Union High School District has unanimously voted in a new superintendent. Her name is Christy Leach. And if you don't know, Christy Leach has been the interim superintendent. She was the superintendent prior to the former Dorcine Williams took the superintendent title, and then was also the interim superintendent after Dorcine Williams resigned. And she has been voted in as the next superintendent amidst all of the backlash, all of the community criticism that the Sequoia Union High School District has been receiving within the past couple of months. And we want to also bring that to your attention, given that Sequoia Union High School District is our local high school district. We know that so many, the majority of our students, if you're not going to a private school, or if you are not a Tinsley student being bussed out to another district like the Palo Alto district, you and your student are probably attending a school within the local school district. And so this is very important. If these conversations, these accusations really are happening on the local level, how does that trickle down and how does that affect our students within the classroom and then also around campus? So I'm just pulling up an article here that so Dorcine Williams, if you don't know, was the former superintendent, and prior to that, she worked years within the Los Angeles Unified School District around DEI, and DEI stands for diversity, equity, and inclusion. So that is her background. And she was brought on as the superintendent amidst the pandemic. We know that during that time, with the riots happening across the country, fighting for racial justice, fighting for racial equality, she was put in place to really respond to some of the community events that were happening. And not even a year, I think, she was asked to resign from her position as the Sequoia Union High School District Superintendent, and that came without a fight from the community. There were so many people who came to her defense, and she was able to. So please, sorry about that. Sorry about that. So the community came to their defense and was able to voice their opinions. But unfortunately, she did end up resigning, and the community did not take that lightly. So community members, according to this article released by our WC Redwood City Pulse, community members rallied against the new school board's recent decision, calling them everything from racist to unethical to immoral to illegal. Now, these are our community members facing the board district and calling them racist and unethical because of the very questionable firing of Dorcine Williams. And many people, I mean, there's so many conspiracies out in the field. And unfortunately, the Sequoia Union High School District has not disclosed the real reason why they forcefully made Dorcine Williams resign from her position, but many people speculate that it was because of the 2 incidents that happened at Menlo Atherton High School where there were guns brought to campus within a month of both of those incidents happening. And so I don't know. I feel like this is absolutely something that, again, we have to bring to community for their attention, and then also to create a call to action in terms of transparency and accountability at the local level. We have our district board already voting in a new superintendent, and my speculation is really whether or not that was a decision made in harmony with the community, or if that was something that was decided on without the community's consideration and contribution. So again, this is something we need to continue talking about because I think for so long and too often, our community is left to hear about things in the aftermath, long after the opportunity to make comments, to decide on things together in partnership and in collaboration, long after that time passes. And so with this podcast in particular, this is one of the many reasons why we wanted to restructure this podcast to bring to attention to the community in a timely manner so that we can really brainstorm and publicly have these conversations for and ahead of town forums and community forums that we know happen a lot of the time within our city and our community. So again, the superintendent, Sequoia Union High School District, has unanimously voted in Christy Leach amidst the accusations of being racist and perpetuating white supremacy. This is important to us as a community, and what can we do about it? We can show up to board district meetings and bring attention to the lack of transparency and the lack of accountability that we just aren't being afforded. There should be no reason why things are disclosed as important as a resignation of a school superintendent. Moving on. Awesome, and I'm seeing in the comment section, thank you so much for that comment. Working with students closely is very important. Knowing a person's culture is helpful in understanding why someone is acting a certain way. Thank you so much, Poonam Goyal, for that comment. You're absolutely right. That comment is very relevant to both topics that we're talking about, both the superintendent topic and then also social media and its ban at the county level. And so thank you so much for your comment there. And again, I want to invite you all, if you are tuning in or if you are watching the replay, please make sure that you are adding your comments into the comment section. We do want to highlight that throughout the show, and then also on our social media platforms after we've broadcasted this. Moving along to our final and probably our most important topic of the week is the PG&E fiasco. Now, if you don't know, PG&E alongside the city of East Palo Alto and the San Mateo County Board of Supervisors put together a town hall for community members to come and voice their opinions, and then more importantly, their experiences on the power outage that happened back in February. And if you aren't aware of what I'm talking about, if you don't live in the community or even in the area, there was a up to 5-day power outage that many of our residents experienced in East Palo Alto as well as in Menlo Park. And this was unacceptable. And so there was a City Hall town forum on that, and KTVU Fox covered that in a video. Let's take a look.
Let's have a conversation.
No power outside freezing right now.
Guys, come on.
And she goes home every single night, though. Every single night to a nice house, though.
It's been about a month since many residents in East Palo Alto were without power for 3 days. Organized by Mayor Lisa Gaucher, dozens of people showed up to a meeting at City Hall and on live stream to tell PG&E and local leaders what it was like to be without power.
It's beyond just the logistics of, oh, this is what we do, we prioritize, because no matter which way you spend it, we're not a priority.
You know, $100, I don't care about the money, but the physical, mental damage that people have. How you address it?
People also talked about the lack of communication from PG&E in East Palo Alto, saying they never got notices about the outages or accurate updates saying when power would be restored. Some people accused PG&E of not prioritizing East Palo Alto because it's an underserved community of color.
For some, racial trauma was triggered. What happened was not okay at any level. This should not be happening in the 21st century in America.
San Mateo County Supervisor Warren Slocum, David Cosgrave from SMC Emergency Services, and State Assembly member Diane Pappin also participated in the meeting. PG&E Regional Vice President Aaron Johnson explained to customers how overwhelmed the power company has been since the start of the year. The peninsula has been hit hard with outages, and many people suggested trees be trimmed or power lines to be placed underground.
So thanks to KTVU Fox for covering last week's town hall. If you haven't watched it, the link is in the East Palo Alto neighbors page. It's a Vimeo link. Make sure that you do watch it, because I watched it, and I can say everyone who shared their experiences both were so valid and really reflected the experience, the overall experience of what that power outage did to families and to residents of our communities. I'm pulling now from the article itself, and people talked about that racial trauma was triggered, that what happened was not okay at any level, that this is the 21st century in America, and people should not have to experience 3, 4, even 5 days of power outage. San Mateo County Supervisor Warren Slocum was there, as well as David Cosgrave of the SMC Emergency Services, and then also Mayor Lisa Gaucher, Vice Mayor Antonio Lopez, and California Senator Josh Becker was also there. And the reason why I wanted to bring this up and to our attention as a community is because of this legislation that is being introduced onto the floor by state senator, I believe, or state senator of the 11th district, Scott Wiener, has created and written a bill, Senate Bill 886, that is to introduce and turn PG&E into a publicly owned utility. And that, I think that calls for a very separate conversation, because as we know, PG&E is the Goliath of power and the Goliath of electricity within the state of California. Someone said it best within one of the articles that I read, was that if you are going to be the Goliath of electricity and the Goliath of power and really dominate and monopolize on that industry, what you do, i.e. not giving power to families for over 3 to 4 days, is unacceptable. I wholeheartedly agree on that, is that it is unacceptable if you are monopolizing on an entire sector of service, which is the electricity and power sector. You need to be held to a higher standard because you have created a monopoly on the market. And so this bill, Senate 86, is very, very interesting as it relates to kind of the climate and how we've experienced the city council and their emergency preparedness. And so if this bill were to be passed and be enforced by the state of California, it will be interesting to see how publicly owned this utility then becomes. Would it be owned solely by the state, which serves its benefits as well as its problems, or will it be kind of decentralized all the way down to the community level, where our city council, perhaps even some of our boards and commissions, will look over and manage the power and electricity that gets distributed across East Palo Alto. And that point right there, I think, is something that every resident of East Palo Alto has a say in and should contribute to, given the experiences that we have with the sanitary district, given the experiences that we have with our local water companies. I would say, and this would be something interesting to survey the community about, is how well is our city council doing at managing what we have already? Would having to now add on another utility, something as important as power, to our city council, would that be something that would be detrimental to the community, or would that be something that we could possibly see improvement in? I don't know. I don't have that answer, but it's absolutely something that does deserve some discussion around. And as we all know, our city has a new city manager who is both a ally in the work, not just him, but his entire family, and someone who is a familiar face within the community. And I'm talking about Melvin Gaines, who is our new city manager. Congratulations, Melvin. We are so proud of you. And with that being said, we know that these responsibilities and these conversations are the types of conversations that come across your table as the city manager. And so really looking to the office of the city of East Palo Alto to answer some of those questions and perhaps even provide some insight if legislation, Senate Bill 86, does get passed and is a utility that then is overseen and managed by the city of East Palo Alto. What does that mean? Will there be opportunities for the community to kind of contribute and plan and support how we want our power to be distributed? What is the preparedness around that? And so for your consideration, these are the types of conversations that we need to table as a community. With that being said, as we have talked about a plethora of topics today, we want to make sure that we are continuing to bring those topics to light and to continue bringing those topics to really bring together some of the dialogue that's happening on both on the public level, on our platforms, and then also the topics that aren't being made for public appeal, but the conversations that are being had at home. And so with that being said, we do want to encourage you all, if you are watching this on the replay, to share this, to make sure that these conversations and these topics that we are bringing to you become topics of conversation that you're having either at your home or even at your workplace, your organization, if you do serve communities in East Palo Alto in our neighborhoods. And so again, I want to thank you all for joining in on today's episode. Episode 8, is PG&E causing California's housing crisis? Which, let me just add one more point. Because PG&E, or the state of California, is looking to enforce and reform PG&E to become a publicly owned utility, how will that impact California's housing crisis? We know that the housing crisis, much of it is due to developments being built without any power being installed in those developments. So those houses just stay there empty for months and weeks on end. And so if the solution is to bring that power to the state as a publicly owned utility, will we see changes? Is that the proper solution? I don't know, but I do want to bring that to your attention. And then again, the conversations around San Mateo County Board of Education suing social media, equally as important, as well as the Sequoia Union High School District voting in unanimously our new superintendent, Christy Leach. Again, all these topics are important to have, and we look forward to any comments that are made on our social media platforms to highlight those within the next couple of days to continue this conversation. And finally, I do want to leave you all with just another reminder that if you do want to get involved with Anamatangi and what we're doing here, that you absolutely can. You can go to our website, www.anamatangi.org, to join the action, to volunteer, to donate. And in doing so, I'm sure you will make connections and experiences that are worth a lifetime. So we thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for being a part of our broadcast. If you're catching this on the replay, thank you so much. And we look forward to seeing you next week, where we will continue to bring our hot topics and our conversations to the forefront. With all that being said, have a great rest of your night, and we'll see you next time.